Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Smart Home Collective. Today, I am delighted to be joined by Craig from Craig's Tech Talk and Karlo from Tech and More Tech. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Lee?
I'm good. I'm a little bit red-faced. I was telling, for the listeners, I was telling the lads earlier on, Scottish summer is about 17 degrees Celsius, 60 degrees Fahrenheit. We get it once or twice a year, and when we get it, we get burnt.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much for a Scotsman to get burnt.
Oh, that's funny. So you got it after a day. Wow.
One day.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Oh. That's funny.
So, Craig, in terms of channel-wise, in April, you hit the mammoth 100,000 subscribers.
Yes. Yeah, it's crazy.
Cue the applause. Yeah, well done, Karlo.
Yeah.
Golf clap.
Yes.
How did it feel?
You know what? It felt like it's one of those things that I think the buildup was like, oh my gosh. The buildup was by the time I finally got there was nothing left. It was like, I'm getting ready to cross a milestone that it is the top 1%, which is like, who would have thought? And some of it was just hitting the right subject at the right time. And, but then you also got to give credit that you got to put the work in. And, it's like I did an Echo series. And that was every single week for 2 years straight. And that grew a following. So it's awesome. I think it's cool. It legitimizes the work. It's like, to me, it's running a marathon. It's not like you're done running just because you finished, or maybe you do. That sounds kind of cool too. But, it's like you still got to just keep running forward, but you just validate you a little.
Yeah. And have you received a little plaque yet, or do you?
No, and it's really irritating me. I'm like, it's not real until I get to flash that at people, and it really, solidifies. Really, you're questioning me? Where's your play button? I'm a tool. So
great. 270 plus YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Amazon influencer. So I think the 100K, the 270, and Amazon influencer.
Yeah. That is a silly term. It's hard to take yourself serious, but you have to take it serious. Yeah. You're like, you're spending people's dollars potentially, and you've got to own that and go, no, you can't do that willy-nilly. It's a responsibility.
Yeah. Good. Karlo, so your first video was May 2017. So actually you're more of a YouTube OG than Craig. Because you posted videos. Yeah. So you're consistently hitting the 4,000 to 5,000 views per video, and your Home Assistant Blue video was 56,000 views, which from what I could tell is probably the most popular one.
Yeah, that one was a bit of a surprise because it's super niche. It's a specific hardware that like not a lot of people would have bought, but it was made by the Home Assistant founders, with like a collaboration with I think Android or something like that. So I was like, I'm gonna check this thing out, and I bought it, and that video did super well. But in terms of like how long the channel's been around, I started it. It's almost 4 years ago. Crap. And the first couple of years, really what I learned is like it's the consistency that gets you forward, because like I wouldn't make videos for like weeks at a time. Then I can make another video, and then realistically, if you look at like my sort of growth, I think this time last year I was like still under 1,000 subscribers, and now I'm just over 6. So it's really just like a video a week consistently. That's what gets the ball really rolling. So that's what I've been hitting pretty much as of about this time last year, just a video a week. Even now that I'm on vacation, had 2 videos lined up. They are scheduled, so when I get back, I'm still on track and hopefully keep going.
Yeah, I mean, without sounding like a lurker, when I was obviously browsing your channel, and it does seem, certainly the last 6 months, the ramp up is quite evident. It seems to, it almost went monthly, every 2 weeks to weekly. And do you think that that's really credit to the jump in subscribers?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. The consistency, that's what the YouTube algorithm wants more than anything else, is just like consistency.
Okay. What keeps you doing it apart from aiming for Craig's 100K?
Yeah,
E-penis. Yeah, I mean.
I'm coming for you, Craig. No, just like being able to play with the tech. And I think it's nice that it all pays for itself now. It's kind of hard, especially in the beginning, it's kind of hard to justify buying like every single product, because you look at your bank account and you're like, this keeps going down. I don't like that. But now that like you hit a certain point where like you either get it for free from the manufacturer, or you get like a huge discount, whatever, or it just pays for itself if you have being able to have all this super nice stuff at home, with it, being able to pay, not have to pay a lot for it.
So that's a good point, actually. So when you as a new tech person, because again, Craig, I went back to your earlier videos, you're obviously having to fit the bill for the tech. How far do you go to actually think, is this reasonable? I'm paying hundreds or whatever it is, thousands of tech for a YouTube channel. How deep are the pockets? Because at some point in time, do you know what? It might work out and it will pay for itself, but the initial expenditure is really hitting your pocket.
Personally, I think where people are spending a lot of times, it's already super congested. So if you're just playing that game of buying everything new and reviewing it, I think that's congested, and I think they get a viewer fatigue at a point. I think really where you don't have to spend that money is by showing how to offer value in the tech you already have. So that, like for me, I started my Echo series to go, can I make a video a week as a personal challenge offering value on this one device so that I'm not caught in this chasing things? And that built an audience because people could come back and actually see the tech they use. And I know this is going to be controversial, the whole niche down thing. I have found that I've crowbarred my way into Apple side of stuff I like. I'm a smart home channel, but I've done it by telling people or showing people uses for their tech. Like my number one video for a year straight now is my 10 Apple Watches uses. So I believe that filled a gap when everybody was done giving reviews and actually told consumers uses for it. It's like now that everyone said it's shiny and pretty and it's a spec upgrade, here's what it can do for you, and make a buying decision on that. If none of these, like the best compliment is going, I watch your video and realize I don't need it. I'm like, perfect. Saved you money, dude. You're welcome. So.
Karlo, pretty much the same for yourself when you kicked off the channel in terms of where do you draw the line in buying all the kit?
Yeah, for me it was tricky as well, because like when I first started the channel, and hence the name, like tech, more tech, I was gonna kind of just do a bit of everything. Like, oh, here's what's cool, and then like eventually figured out you gotta niche down. The smart home sort of area was let's say the least congested in the tech world, and then eventually you kind of just figure out, if you're going to take it seriously, you look at it like a business, and you realize, this is just cost of goods sold. You gotta buy the stuff, you gotta pay for it, you gotta use it, because if you don't use it, it's pretty evident if you're giving like really sort of surface level kind of stuff. Which for certain things, like if you're doing a review and it's only been like, let's say a week, you can give the sort of general idea, especially if it's a new version of the same kind of product, then people kind of know what to expect. If it's an all new product, you kind of have to, spend a little bit more time with it. But in terms of buying it, you kind of just have to look at it like a business. It's going to cost money eventually. Even if it doesn't turn out, you can probably sell it and make most of your money back. So ultimately, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to slate you, Karlo, but I went to look at your old videos. They were random as hell.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Yeah.
It was like one was an iPhone 8, the next time it was a VR headset, the next time it was a smart dimmer. It was just all over the place. But then actually, when you move on about 20, 25 videos, it becomes far more consistent, and there's a theme starts to evolve through it.
Yeah. It's very much so. Like every, let's say, YouTube analyst / helper, whatever you want to call them, people in that world, they're always like, find a niche, do this. It's like easier said than done, friend. Like, hey, it takes a little while to figure out exactly what you want to talk about. And it still also has to be something that you are actually interested in. I can find some super random niche about something, but if I'm not interested in it, that's not going to be good content either. So it just takes a little bit of time to kind of figure out what you like, what the people like, and kind of where that meshes. And that's kind of where you make your videos.
Okay. Craig, I mean, I came across you. It was your Echo series that I fell in love with your channel. I was a new Echo user, and every week or whenever they come out, I was thinking, right, absorbing all this knowledge that I could about all these secret hidden gems you had. Tell us a little bit about the evolution, because I do find, I mean, I look at them, and even more recently, it's evolved more from here's a review of something to just a more of a community feel.
Sorry, you'll need to edit that out, I'm sure. The big thing, Amazon made the Echo very easy to do videos on, but at a certain point towards the middle of the second year, it just became at times filler videos. There was a topic. I always found a topic, but I didn't feel like there would be 3, 4, 5 of them in a year that weren't strong, but I felt obligated. So I cut my series and said, you know what? It's going to be a smart home channel is more the umbrella of it. But I also can't sit still. I'm jack of all trades, master of none. Really, the focus is on a smart home aspect and keeping to explore that. Try to show uses more than reviews. I like the idea of, I want to work with companies and I want them to I want to see your lineup. I don't care about your one camera. I think you're stronger than one camera and you're alienating a group by locking into one piece. So I'm like, let's show your ecosystem. So I'm more in the exploring side of some of how to get more use out of it. But the umbrella of the channel is smart home. But I like dabbling. I like playing in the Apple. And if I think I could add something to the conversation or maybe expose something different, I'll try to. And I find those videos succeed. And I want to educate my audience that Apple's doing amazing stuff. Let's pay attention here, because if we ask more, if we see them doing more, we ask more of our side, and everybody steals the good ideas. So let's see what's out there, let's explore. But you do have to niche down. But I know if I did nothing but Echo, it would be the strongest thing for the channel, but it's not authentic for me.
And that makes perfect sense. And I do get a feel when watching the live streams, and I might be unfair on you, I do find going through your older ones when I first came across you, I thought, Craig, he's a right Amazon Echo guy. Mm-hmm. Now the live streams is very much, do you know what? I'm an Apple guy. I've got Amazon on the side, but I'm Apple through and through. Has that been a natural shift, or was that always the case?
No, my thing is, I've always been an Apple guy. Apple just didn't do enough for 2 years. They didn't do anything. And my thing is, it's not that I'm abandoning the Echo. It's just, it's not as much going on that I keep up with what's going on. And the big story right now, and someone gave me a hard time in the comments, is Amazon Sidewalk. That right there, that's what's big right now in the question, but there's not the constant rolling of features. So it's like, if there's new and there's something to add to the conversation, cool. But from an Apple personal use, I've been an Apple guy the whole time. I'm exploring the features and I'm questioning people, because everybody beats up on Apple in the sense like, you're overcharging me. And it's like, no, there's a lot of potential, and this could crack a door open that someone then takes that idea and cracks it a different way. So let's explore the smart home, and not everybody's into that. Yeah. And it takes you away from being just a resource how-to channel, and that some people aren't interested in. And you know what? Some people don't want to hear my thoughts on Sidewalk today.
Well, it's a perfect segue. You mentioned Sidewalk. We have to ask the question. So when you released a video a couple of hours ago, I watched it. Strong views.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a necessity? We're all going to be connected. I think is it the start of just what's coming down the line, and are Amazon testing the water of what's going to be a completely connected neighborhood, and there will be inevitable?
Yes, it will be. But my biggest thing is challenge it. And that's one of those, to be authentic, I have to say when I don't necessarily think something's compelling. And that at a point where if I think something serves the company doing it more than it serves the customer at this point, I'm not into it. So that particular thing, that once you show a good use and you bring the products to market to do it, it's a concept now. And I don't like the concept because it's being turned on automatically June 8th. Yeah. That's the part I don't like. If you want to play, explore, do it. It's just not compelling to turn it on. And that's the thing I say multiple times where it's like, oh, it's a scare tactic. It's like, no, these are the things in play. I just don't think you turn any feature on automatically. That's just me.
Yeah. Karlo, very much.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. So I actually made a very short video, maybe months ago, how to disable Sidewalk, because that's when it maybe first popped up. And I agree for two reasons. A, I don't like opt-in services that just turn on automatically in the background, regardless of if it's in the news or if they kind of tell you. It's kind of weird.
It's not really opt-in; it's more opt-out, isn't it?
It is.
Right. You have to opt out. You're in it.
Yeah. I misspoke. It's an opt-out feature, which is never really the way you want to go. To Craig's point, it's kind of a concept. It's kind of here's the feature. What's the benefit for me? And they kind of lay it out, but ultimately, I think it's interesting. It kind of shows how we all look at Amazon as a company versus Apple as a company. Because if you look at the AirTag that came out a couple of weeks ago, it uses a similar concept, right? It uses the worldwide Find My network to basically have this little device that you can find if you lose it anywhere in the world. I mean, it basically uses the same thing, but then Amazon's like, hey, we're going to have this thing to help your smart home devices kind of make sure they don't drop off. And everyone's like, whoa. Hold your horses there, buddy. Who do you think you are, Amazon? So I think it's an interesting sort of concept of how we look at each company and how they have basically presented themselves to the customer.
See, this is what I said in argument to the live stream, which really kind of changes things, is from every 90 or early 2000 movies, they've been able to triangulate your location with cell phone towers. And then they had GPS. And then the Bluetooth talking kind of became an extension of your location already being known and creating that network and expanding on. So that's where Samsung and Apple get a pass to me because their devices are already reporting your location. That and AirTags just adds a functionality onto something that essentially you agree by putting a phone in your pocket all the time. It's following you. You know that. You've already done it. It's kind of piggybacking on that as opposed to creating and not explaining. You bought this device for one reason and there's another one you don't know about that turned on. It's like
that's fair.
That's the only thing because it's not a pass for Apple. It literally was just piggybacking location that it was like, ooh, this is a bonus. I now can find it. Ooh, it could find my computer. It kind of expanded in that. So I think that's where they get a pass is because the evolution on the cell. It's the quiet part and being new and not going, hey guys, here it is. This is what's cool. It's going, this could be cool.
And in terms of the data sharing, so Amazon have already said, that there'll be a certain amount of data being pinged across the neighborhood or whoever other Sidewalk devices. What data is gathered on the Apple side? Is it just location? Is that it?
Encrypted, anonymized pinging of location. I think that's pretty much it.
Well, from what
I'm definitely not an expert, so don't take my word for the gospel.
Well, from what I understand, though, is just the theory and something I'd read is the reason AirTags is being or Find My Network is being opened up is so that Apple doesn't have a monopoly on it, that they have some AirTag competitors within their ecosystem. So whatever, there's one brand that's going to work on my Find My Network, but it's always
Chipolo, I think.
What's that?
Chipolo, was it the new one?
Yeah. That was an article I'd read was are they being invited into the market so they have competition on within it? But they've never made their network with an information sharing purpose. I thought, as far as I know, maybe it's different, but I thought it was never meant to gather and share data. It was only location based. So, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
There was no third party got that support, but I don't know.
Interesting.
Or it may be in there on the app level and I don't understand the technology.
Hypothetical. Apple release, I don't know, Apple Grass. It's the exact same as Sidewalk, right? Do you think it'd have the same reception as Amazon?
Yes.
And I'm just fishing here.
No, I think it would. I think it would.
You think
if
no,
it was
I don't know,
if
Craig.
it was presented the same way. If it was presented with an potentially overreaching with no features to it, you would have to have a feature. And Apple always sells a feature that is, they'll polish it, they'll wait way too long, but then they'll sell it as a feature where it's like, now you can't lose anything on the network you already love. Where if they just said they turned it on and things are going to be attached to it eventually, that seems premature.
But that's the point. I think if Apple did the same thing, they would polish it. They would create a draw for it. Because Amazon haven't done that, there's the suspicion Amazon, the dirty marketing company who just want your data. Whereas Apple would polish the turd and say, "Oh, guys, look, you need this."
Yes, 100%. And I think that's what it is. I go back to the compelling argument. Just make it a compelling reason to turn it on. Once you do that, I'm all in, man. I don't mind changing my mind. You made it worth it.
Brilliant.
I
okay.
agree.
Karlo, you're gonna say something else there? Are you okay?
Just that I agree.
Great. Okay, moving on to a couple of news items. And the first one, Nanoleaf Live Spring. Karlo, I know you watched it. Craig, did you manage to catch it?
No, I didn't. No. Please let me know.
It was
more.
It was not bad. It was a 25-minute presentation on Nanoleaf upcoming products, which actually I thought for the time length it was nice. They didn't drone on. The 25 minutes passed relatively quickly. It wasn't a day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Some companies really want to drag out stuff for 3 days, Apple. And and I think the 25-minute presentation relatively well. They talked about the new Nanoleaf Elements, which is really just shapes with a wood effect and far more glowy. To me, looked like almost like honeycomb effect, which is quite good. Razer gaming integration, and the biggie, which I don't think they spent much time on, Karl. I think they should have spent more time on, is that the Shapes controllers will become thread routers.
Yep.
Which to me is far more game-changing than releasing another shape.
I agree. And there was a big old sort of, let's say, discussion in the Twitter sphere, mainly with Chris, because he's like a network engineer and everything, trying to figure out what exactly does thread all encompass, because you've got right now the HomePod Mini as like the main thread border router, but now you got the Shapes and the Elements. They can work as border routers, but are they gonna then still be on the same thread? How is all that going to shape up? And there's just 3,000 sort of questions that no one has answers to, and we're all kind of speculating on, because we also desperately want thread to be this like end all be all way of smart home devices communicating, that we never have to come up with a new protocol ever again. And there's just questions like, is this just going to be not that great? In which case we're all going to be super disappointed.
Can you afford for it not to be great with the hype that surrounds it?
I know, but that's the thing with hype, right? You know, it can lead to glory or it can lead to pain.
I mean, I did like the Nanoleaf take. They were very much, listen, if you've got an existing shape on your wall, the controller will become now a border router for thread. Fantastic. And actually they were very much saying, listen, this is a thread for all your devices. We're not going to lock it down for just for Nano. It's thread open in a way, which I thought was quite good.
Yeah, and they have the compatibility with Amazon and Google as well now. So theoretically, which is interesting because Amazon hasn't really come out directly supporting thread, even though I know like the Eero has thread modems in it. But Amazon has never really been like, yep, all of our future devices, they're kind of relying on some other stuff. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah. Do any of you have an Nanoleaf, the shapes?
No, I do not.
I don't get it. To me,
I've got the canvas in my background, and I've also got the essential lights, but not the shapes.
I mean, the shapes to me look like they should belong in a teenager's gaming bedroom, and they're hideous. Yeah, Karlo, and I don't want to insult you, and I'm probably insulted hundreds of people. I don't get it, and it infuriates me. Like, as part of the presentation, every Nanoleaf you see on a wall has a fucking wire hanging out the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Why? It should be. Yeah, Craig, on you go.
The best one is the canvas, though. The canvas is awesome. I mean, with the squares and the touch and all that, that actually kind of makes so much more sense. I don't like the shape lineup, I think, because they all look circular with the way they are. Like they're too rounded. But the canvas, I would love to throw just $500, $1,000 worth of canvas for fun because of the fact it could be an interesting, but all the other shapes and the wire and what do I do with my triangles that are different than everyone else's triangles?
Yeah.
Like I made a W with an extra wing,
I agree. I don't like the roundedness because it kind of just makes it look like it's not quite as connected. And I didn't like the mini shapes they had from last year either. They all kind of just look goofy. I do like the canvas. They kind of go complete edge to edge. The one thing I don't like about my canvas, they're a pain to take off if you have to reorganize them. But other than that, on camera, if at a certain angle and a certain brightness, they can kind of look like swastikas, and that's not good. If you look at some of my videos and you kind of like when the glass breaks and you see it, you're like, oh, that's not a great look.
Yeah.
So now I have to like get the focus different, so it's more blurred and you can't really tell. But in certain angles, just because of the way the lights are sort of, I guess, oriented and put inside the actual canvas, it's like a sort of a windmill shape. But on camera, sometimes it can kind of look like a swastika, which is not great.
Yeah, I don't get them, and I think with the Nanoleaf elements, this new wood effect. I don't want to hate. I think they look the wood effect looked clever, and I think the touch aspect where you touch it, it almost looks living and breathing.
Like ripples.
Yeah, but again, who wants wood honeycomb shapes on their wall? I mean, what customer base are they looking for here? Someone who lives in a barn.
That's the problem with this is that, like, to me, no, I wasn't planning on putting wood on my wall beforehand. So hiding lights behind it doesn't change it. If anything, it's a horrible concept to me. I would have just embraced that you have a light or not, but to try to like, is that wood? No, it isn't. Let me turn it on.
I'm really curious to see what it looks like in person. I kind of agree. Like it's kind of trying to make it a little bit classier, a little bit less sort of gamer RGB, but I'm not sure if it's really gonna hit. And
I think that's the point, Karlo. They've created something that, to me, is a, as I said, a teenage boy gamers, bright colors, panels on a wall. Let's now target the older generation, and we'll make it like wood, because the older generation like wood.
But if you made it rectangular or square, where it's almost like those walls that people put up with the different wood shapes, like you had some different tones to it, and it wasn't the shape. The shape is wrong. If you could arrange it in squares or rectangles and kind of hang on the wall, different story, all behind it. But you're like, ooh, is that from a log? Is that that odd shaped piece of wood? What is? No, it's a light. Oh,
what if you did this? What if you made it in the shape of a honeycomb, but then you also painted a little bee flying out of it on your wall?
Then, like, is that honey? No.
But Karlo, that's the perfect point. It just looks like honeycomb. I don't get it. I don't know who they're marketing to. And they spent a good 10, 15 minutes going on about these stupid wood honeycomb things and not enough about the thread aspect, which to me was a far more appealing thing.
I think they didn't go on about Thread is, and I think the same thing is, if in looking back, Apple didn't say much about Thread with Apple TV. I think part of it is they don't know. I think they could just step on each other and get in the way and break it like the original smart home thing. If like I would compare it to you, I use all Apple Thunderbolt cables because I can't trust half of what I buy because of power limitations. Like what's data, what's power, they all have the same connector. So I think they may be downplaying because in a perfect world, everybody just says, hey, welcome to the party. And they just all talk across all the devices. There is no Amazon Nanoleaf version of Thread or Ring, it's just they talk. But so I wonder if they're just being quiet until the dust settles and they figure out what to do with it all. Are we going to all talk together? Are we host?
Yeah. So, I mean, Karl, I don't know, I know I sound like I'm hating. I actually enjoyed it. It was a 25-minute entertainment about tech, but I did leave it thinking, really?
Yeah, I was hoping for more. I don't know if you watched last year's when they did their first live event. It was like an hour long and they showed a bunch of stuff. And the number one thing that was interesting was their so-called learning series. And I was super excited about that because, yes, finally we're using machine learning and whatever to like actually do something useful, which is like, hey, one of the first smart home products that like any consumer bought was the Nest thermostat, because it was like, it learns your schedule, right? It learns how you do. You don't have to program it. You don't have to do anything. It just learns. Mine personally didn't learn shit. I had to program a schedule, and now I have an Ecobee. But the idea that like now at least we have probably millions times more data about how we turn our lights on, how we maneuver, whatever. The learning series and automations sort of learning themselves is really appealing to me, and they just kind of haven't got anywhere with it, which is disappointing to me.
Yeah, I never saw last year's. That'd actually be quite interesting to compare them. Cool. Moving on then. For those living under a rock or not Apple people, WWDC 21 kicks off tomorrow and runs until Wednesday or Thursday. 7th, 10th, 11th. Oh yeah, Thursday. 7th to 11th. 4 days of Apple goodness. So in terms of what's to be expected, so 2018, they announced a big transition of iOS apps onto Mac. 2020, we saw the announcement of developing their own Mac chips and the M1. Craig, probably looking at you more. Predictions and wish lists. So it's always it's an OS. It's a software piece every year. You're going to have the usual updates to the iOS, to OS. But what's the biggies that you're expecting?
For me, when it comes to iOS and Mac OS, I really don't have a wish list for those. I think they need to really get their stuff together with iPad OS and really just double down on HomeKit. You polish those two. TV OS also, double down on those. I think those are weaker of them. But yeah, from an Mac OS, iPad or iOS are cool with me.
Yeah, I'm coming in the same boat. iOS, I don't really care. I don't really use my phone that much differently today than I did 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Mac OS on my main desktop, I haven't even upgraded to Big Sur, just because I don't want to. But in terms of what I'd like to see, actually today's video that I posted was 5 Amazon features that I wish HomeKit had. So one of the main ones I'd like to see is Guard. Some sort of security system. I've got smart locks, I've got sensors everywhere, smart lights, whatever. I'd like to have some sort of security system that Apple can just turn on when I leave home. So if we can get some nice HomeKit updates from that point of view, that'd be great. That's all I want.
Nice. I want iPad OS. I mean, that's really the big one. There's no excuses for being able to do pro apps or full desktop experience apps on Mac OS. Yeah. I mean, on the iPad OS with the 12.9 inch or even the 11 inch M1.
I mean,
Would you?
the 12.9, sorry, Carl, very quickly, the 12.9 is a beast.
Yeah. It's overkill right now.
It's overkill.
I think it's really going to, we're really going to find out whether people cancel orders or double down on orders of these iPads after Monday. It's either going to be because there's no longer an excuse. There's always been a point that you didn't want the iPad to cannibalize Macs, but it actually, to spec out the 12.9 inch to match a MacBook Air, cost you about $500 more. So now there's zero financial excuse, so the hardware's there.
I think with iPad OS, I think they have a lot to do to make it a much more sort of compelling main computing device. Regardless of power, et cetera, I find that if you want to kind of do work, let's say, quote unquote, I find there's too much friction. It's like, hey, you want to switch apps to an app that hasn't been opened recently? Tons of friction. On a Mac, I do command space, I type in the first 3 letters, it opens up. And I know you can do that with a Magic Keyboard on the iPad, but like, okay, now that's an accessory. That's not like just the iPad. And if you buy the keyboard, which is $300 plus the $1,000 13-inch whatever, you're still like, you're at higher price than a MacBook Air, probably even a MacBook Pro, I think, on a thicker device with not as good battery life. What have you really gained? And there's still an immense amount of friction when you want to drag and drop files, when you want to do a quick copy paste. Like everyone on Twitter just, I can't wait to use Final Cut Pro on a 13-inch iPad Pro. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like a 27-inch 4K monitor is barely big enough for me to use Final Cut Pro on. I would never use that on a 13-inch touchscreen device. Like that's insanity to me.
See, and I think where the thing comes, the excitement is, if you're really trying to get work done, I think you're torturing yourself trying to go all iPad. I think where the benefit comes in, like myself, if it can cover those additional apps, in reality, it would be a Mac Mini into a monitor behind me for the heavier work. And then, but it's also, if I could start a project while I'm out on vacation with the family, drop it in Final Cut Pro, or just sit outside, and I could do it with my Mac. I mean, yes, I have been doing it, but anytime I leave to go for any extended period of time, the MacBook Air and iPad come. If I could get away and ditch the Air, I don't carry a MacBook Pro. I'm like, I'm doing 4K footage on a MacBook Air. Life's good.
Yeah.
It's one of those, if you're going to have all the power, it's silly not to, or just don't have the power.
Yeah. And obviously, for a non-Mac user, what does that look like, Craig? Is it an amalgamation? Is it the iPad OS and Mac OS just becomes one?
I think
did they mirror one another?
No, I don't think it's going to be like a Surface where you're going to run a Mac OS. But if I can, like on Mac OS, you can drag, if you have an M1 Mac, you can open an iOS or iPad OS app on your desktop. I just want to be able to do the same, go Final Cut Pro. I drop it into the Magic Keyboard, or have a separate mouse paired or whatever. So it is the same shortcut, similar experience, and just have it transfer over to have the option. Then it warrants having their processor that is meant to take care of business on. So if not, then like seriously, in reality, there's a good chance I'll step this down if they don't bring the option, because then I'm just seriously overpowered and it's dumb at that point. So, I might keep it for the 12.9 inch, but I may even drop down to 11 and only go with 256, because I don't like LumaFusion that much. It's a great tool, but I don't need to edit on the go in that way. It slows me down. So.
Interesting. Okay. So, I mean, there'll be the iOS 15 announcements, updates, possibly macOS 12, watchOS, tvOS. From a TV, I mean, how much can you do with a tvOS? I mean, it's an interface UI element. We can't get too excited about that.
I got one thing they can do: spatial audio. I think it would make the AirPods Max compelling, because then you look at it, you're buying a $250 set of noise canceling headphones, and you're buying a $250 surround sound system in your apartment with your Apple TV 4K. You know,
Yep.
that's, or even with your Air, to be able to drop your AirPod Pros in with your Apple TV. You got to keep it quiet. Kids are asleep, whatever. And you just enjoy your movie and enjoy spatial audio.
See, Craig, you do have a wish list.
I guess I do. No, not for OS. For TV, yes.
Okay, yeah.
It's all the other stuff that they need to, double down on those.
Yeah. Home OS. So I got wind of this very kind of fortuitously, that there was a job advert Apple put up a couple of months ago. It was for a product developer, and in the job profile was developing Home OS, which you have to assume is HomeKit. But from an operating system point of view, I always associate that with some kind of visual. Am I going too far to think that Apple will become, HomeKit will be more of a, on a tablet device, it's really going to be pushing HomeKit to be everybody loves these tablets on a wall. There's my home on a wall. Are Apple going to push something like that with Home OS, or are they going to stick with the phone?
You got this?
I can go. The iPad on a wall idea is awesome. I do not think Apple will make such a device. I think the power delivery system is far too complex for just like the average user. Because like, there's no world in which Apple's going to sell you a device that has a hanging cord down your wall. That universe does not exist. It'd have to go be routed. Yeah, exactly. Like Nanoleaf, that would never happen. It would have to be routed through the wall, some sort of PoE system, I assume. And that's a home DIY project. I think Home OS is much more slated for something like an Echo Show or a Nest Hub Max, where it has its own little display, its own little OS running, and that's basically what you're going to get. That's the way I view it.
I think you're going to get, the answer to me is basically a Nest Hub, make something sleek, do it Apple-wise. It's got to have decent sound out of it, but just an interface like CarPlay, just some that you walk over, you tap, you get to what you need. You're like, boom, boom, there's your favorite accessories. It's not trying to put an iPad on a stand. It's just like, there's your, Spotify, boom, start playing music through the house, whatever the case. So it truly, that's where you kick butt over everybody else's. Nest does a good job with their touch on their screen, but man, you nail that. And I think CarPlay is beautiful. It's a nice little clean setup.
Yeah. All right. Stick with the home side of stuff. Craig, you've been quite vocal in the past around what Amazon or Google are doing around this race to the bottom.
Yeah.
Did Apple join too late, and are they really in the game for the long haul, or have they done it to appease the Apple lovers?
No, they're now serious, and this is not the place you want to be, is when Apple turns their head and aims at you and decides to play. They wanted to make a speaker. I think there was a little bit of arrogance thinking Apple made it okay. And it was a good sounding speaker, but it clearly did not sell the way anyone would hope. It didn't keep going, whatever the case is on it. But in the past year and a half, and this is why I get exciting, and I don't want people to feel like that I'm bailing on the Echoes. I just like tech. And it's like Apple's getting serious. And I feel like it really was like 2020, when they like WWDC, it's like you started like, oh, you guys are here to play. So I think they're here to play. I think they're too late. They didn't take it serious enough, but you saw what they could do with the set of AirPods. It's like, we're in it now. And now AirPods are one of the most popular, they changed the industry. So
I agree. I think they came in a little bit late to the market, but I think Apple does that very often when the market itself is not clearly defined and they don't have, let's say, a market defining product. With Amazon and Google, they have the most compatibility. But then what you've basically got is, you go to Amazon, you type in smart light and you get 99 out of 100 like pretty crappy lights. There's good ones obviously that work with all ecosystems or specifically even just Amazon, etc. But ultimately, for example, that head start where they gave out Google Home Minis and Echo Dots basically for free for years, just to get the user base. The question is, how much is that really going to matter when going forward? Let's say every major or every serious smart home company is Matter certified. And obviously we don't know the full extent of what that really means right now, but let's pretend for the sake of argument that means that it's going to work with all three ecosystems flawlessly. Now, all of a sudden, the fact that they had all these Google Home Minis and Echo Dots all over the place. Well, so many people have an iPhone, so you're all already kind of in the ecosystem as well. So did that start really pan out super well? I have no idea. That's just sort of my thinking on the whole topic.
I think the tough part though is like one thing that's easy for us to look at it from a smart home standpoint, and you could open up all that stuff all day, but then someone can't get Pandora or Spotify and those things. And that's the dumb part of Apple is they didn't they could have done that early on and made that and really gain market share in that part. So it's one of those that all the coolness of smart home can take off, but I'm going to say at least 50% of Echo users, one, they probably bought it because of the price. I know that all the time. You get it on deals and that gets people in.
Yep.
And they are not going to buy Apple. They are diehards, aren't going to buy Apple, and it won't matter how good it is. And that's what's disappointing to me. I said this to someone yesterday, that when the Nest Hub Max came out, I was disgusted that they matched identical to Amazon's Echo Show. They didn't do one improvement. It was like, you guys are literally hitting whatever the bottom.
But they didn't need to. And that's the sad thing. They didn't need to.
That's what's disappointing. That stifles bad stuff. People like wanting to make surround sound systems out of their Echoes. I want to do 5 dots. You're like, you never will because the hardware can't support it. And that's what I want to pro line up. I want to encourage Amazon, make a pro, make it cost what it should, for good quality gear.
So I think, sorry, Karlo, you go.
I was going to say, I felt the same way when they updated the Nest Hub Max, or maybe just the Nest Hub a couple months ago, and like the only thing they added was like the sleep tracking or the sleep functionality. It's like, did you have one person working on this all year? You're like a $2 trillion company. You can at least get some people to come up with something better than a feature that literally no one wants, no one asked for, and no one's going to use.
Yep. And that's one of those things, though, that at the end of the day, you have to go back and look at what these companies' primary source of income is. And it'll tell where they direct their energy. I mean, it's one of those things that Google 80% plus of their revenues based off of ad sales.
Yeah.
So what is the driving force? And, Apple is a hardware services company. Their motivation, get the expensive cool hardware and get you hooked on the services.
Yep.
But I mean, in terms of price point now, and I think, so just Googling there. So HomePod now is what, HomePod Mini, £90, sorry, for the Americans. So was it
it's
$160, $170? Was it $99 equivalent?
The HomePod Mini?
Oh, come on, the UK.
Yeah, it's $99.
Yeah, UK getting absolutely done over once again.
Yeah.
So $100 then for a smart speaker. You go back 2-3 years ago, you would have gawked at that because again, you were getting them out. The Googles were getting it handed out free, Echoes were free. We've now the smart speaker life cycle's moved on quite substantially. For a good speaker, $100, £100 is dirt. It's nothing.
Yeah, I mean it isn't, and that's one of those things that the apples to oranges and Amazon's orange logo. But the idea though, that really the Echo, it's like I made a video called HomePod Mini and is it overpriced? And if you actually break down the features of it, it really isn't. And if you look at the Echo 4th generation, for $99, you now get a really solid sounding speaker. So it's like, if you look at these things like the Mini, you're like, my home, my Nest Hub or my Nest Mini was $25. You're like, yeah, but actually step back and look at Apple's hardware. You're like, it's thread enabled, U1 chip, it's got a bass radiator, fuller sound, so yeah, you get a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, looking forward to see what comes out of WWDC. We'll obviously find out more tomorrow. Shout outs then before we wrap up. Craig, what's ongoing? What's coming up that you want to plug?
It would be the YouTube channel. There's going to be, I want to do more exploring on topics and kind of make it less about the product. Like, here's the product to use, or here's the family of products. So hopefully, like, hey, you want a great budget lineup of sensors, cameras, all, stuff that has a broader range within the smart home to hopefully add some tips, or, Wi-Fi. I bought the Eero Pro 6, love it. I don't necessarily want to do a review, but it's a great place to offer tips for your own purchasing decision. So I hopefully to help people get more out of their tech. And then go over to Amazon Live, type in Craig's Tech Talk in this, or go to Amazon.com and you could type in Craig's Tech Talk, all one word, no punctuation. And you'll find me. You could view the storefront, see my live streams over there, various stuff. Easiest way to find me on Amazon, streaming almost daily.
Brilliant, thanks. And for those, if you've never, any listeners that they've never seen one of Craig's live streams, you need to check them out. Craig, I thoroughly enjoy them, and it's one of the things. Obviously, I watched yesterday's YouTube one. I'm not sitting on a TV watching. I've got it playing in the background. I'm in the kitchen. It's playing on the TV. I'm cooking. But it's great, just smart tech stuff, just playing in the background. I love it. So really, really enjoy those.
Oh, thank you very much. And it really is because of everybody else, the community there. That's why I'm streaming on Amazon, but it's a place that I come in unprepared. I'll just share a little bit about what's going on, but it's everyone else that kind of cracks the door open for good conversation.
And you know what? And I think that's what makes it so good, because it's natural, it's raw, it's not pre-scripted, and it just feels like you're just having a conversation. No. And
I don't know if I can include this, but I got to tell you the whole base. Lee told me to check my DMs in the middle of the chat. Well, I approached it because you have people that kind of put you on the spot in the comments, or like, hey, you need to check this, check this out. And they're just trying to put in front of your audience. So I'm dancing around that, but also admitting I'm a complete flake. I didn't realize I was talking to Lee, and I didn't realize he DM'd me on Thursday about doing this today. And it was Saturday morning. And I'm like, oh, so the realization, it's fun. It's fun to put your foot in your mouth, and it's like, you never know what's going to happen. It's the beauty of life.
It gave me a laugh. And seeing you kind of flustering a lot on the live stream, that penny dropped of shit. That's the lead. Yeah. Okay.
Oh my God, Lee. Cause I'm like, oh man, it's one of these companies that's just trying to put me on the spot here. Will you review my product? And it's like, no, in reality, I probably won't, because I say no to almost everybody, and you're like, how do I say this? But set boundaries, like, don't expect anything from me, but I'm accessible 7 days a week. I stream, and at an hour at a time, so you can find me.
Yeah, give me a good laugh.
Yes, my apologies, Lee. I was horribly a flake.
No, at all. Karlo, what have you got upcoming? Anything you want to give a shout out to?
Upcoming, I've been thinking also about how, like, kind of almost want to redo my smart home. Kind of like, I did a recent video on like the mistakes I've made and kind of how to avoid them. I almost kind of want to go back and almost just start from scratch. Like, hey, how would I really want to do my smart home? And so I'm going to approach it from a sort of beginner point of view. Here's how I'd want everything done. Here's the different automations that I think are really valuable. And yeah, I think Craig had a really good view on it with like, hey, how is this really what can you do with your devices? How can you make your life a little bit better? And I think maybe a little bit of that, introducing that to the channel, introducing that to the audience can definitely be a little step to the side. And I think that'll be interesting path to take.
Good. No, I look forward to it. Okay. Before we wrap up, this is one of the sections that I get the most comments for, and people send me DMs saying, I love that mystery question section. So I'm going to give you each a question. Craig, I'll come to you first. Mm-hmm. Okay, now I'll give you a very rough 30 to 60 seconds, all right, to give me your answer. At the end of it, I'll judge who gave the best answer.
Gotcha.
So, do you want to, in the effort of fairness, do you want me to take my headphones off while he answers, and then I'll give my answer so that I don't hear his?
Oh no, I've got a different question for you. Don't you worry.
Oh, okay, cool.
Don't worry. Okay, so Craig, you're approached by Google, okay, and actually, no, you're not even approached from Google. You start working for Google, and Google say, Craig, we love what Amazon did with the Amazon Sidewalk. We're going to create Google Pavement. And for those listening, Pavement in the UK is the same as the Sidewalk, all right? So Google are going to create Google Pavement. But they say, Craig, we love it so much. We want you to be our PR person, okay? We want you to go out in the world and tell us why Sidewalk doesn't collect enough data because it's the right thing to do. Go, Google Pavement.
And to clarify, that Sidewalk doesn't collect enough data?
Correct. We want Google Pavement wants to collect more because it's the right thing to do.
Okay.
And I'm going to start your time.
Okay. Start talking time or thinking time?
Well, I've started your time, so you can think for 30 seconds if you want.
Well, no, I'm good. I mean, well, it's simple, really. I mean, you don't have a cellular network to back it in a mobile operating system. You're now piggybacking on Apple. You're piggybacking on our Android Google side. I mean, that's like, why are you going to piggyback when you could have it on an OS level? You could carry it over onto Chrome. So you want to bring that data together, because now mobile data combined with the Sidewalk connection, that is going to make a connected experience. It's going to know that when you come close, that your phone call that you're already on, that's going to transfer automatically in one seamless thing without thinking twice. And it's going to know when to start that process because it connects. You're not going to get that on Amazon. I mean, they're not going to do it. Google may. I mean, Apple may, but they're not there. We are.
Love it. Well done. God,
Fantastic.
I need some Google Pavement in my life. That was fantastic, Craig. Fantastic. Okay, Karlo.
Alrighty.
You start working for Nanoleaf, all right, as their PR man, and they say, Karlo, we need to rebrand. We're going to move away from Nanoleaf. We're going to be called Banana Leaf, all right? And all the shapes that we're going to have on people's walls, we're going to do away with all those shapes, and the shapes are going to be bananas, okay? Only bananas. But you need to sell 30 to 60 seconds advert as to why people need to buy Banana Leaf bananas. On your marks, leaf. Go.
All right, let me give it a second to think.
This is the best time because you can see the awkward look in people's face.
All right. You know what's great about memes? Memes make money. Banana for scale, that's a meme. And you know what? It's going to make us money. We have rebranded to Banana Leaf. Squares on your walls, that's a thing of the past. Hexagons, lame. We're going bananas. You know what? If Dogecoin can become a meme and be worth $70 billion, we're going to do the same thing. Banana Leaf. We're also going to come up with a Banana Leaf cryptocurrency to power that. All your Banana Leaf lights are actually going to be mining in the background. You're going to be rich. We're going to be rich. Everyone's going to be great.
Well done. Well done. Oh, a good one.
And it does integrate with Pavement too. I mean, we are a very open platform.
Do you know what?
Brilliant.
Craig, at the end of your one, I thought, he's wrapped this up. It was so professional, but Karlo, I'm a crypto man, so you sold me in the banana crypto tokens.
Perfect.
Got you on the crypto.
We're going to the moon. We're going to the moon.
We're going to the moon with banana token.
Nice.
Gents, thank you very much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Lee, for organizing this. It was great.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun.
Good, great. Thank you very much, and take care.
Yeah,
you too.
Cheers.
See ya.
Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so that you can be notified when my newest conversation comes out. And if you've got any suggestions for guests that you want me to interview, please feel free to find me on Twitter at the SH Collective.